Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna have a look at the stock called Luckin Coffee, which is, might I say, the talk of the town right now, since it has completely collapsed and is getting delisted from the US stock exchange as far as I can tell. So what are we gonna do today? Well, we know how it ended with Luckin Coffee, but what I'm gonna take a look at is, could we have seen it coming? Was this a stock I would have invested in? If so, why? And if not, why not? And I usually do this not to be some sort of backwards looking smartass, but simply to see if I can learn something. As you know, if you have followed me for a while, my method, my strategy is very rules based. Sometimes there is a couple of percent free for some subjective judgment, but mostly it is completely rules based. So let's take the rules from my normal analysis strategy and pull it down on Luckin Coffee to see if there's anything here that would have indicated that we should not have bought it. I also know that many of you listening here are shorter term traders that I am, and I know many of you have made a killing in Luckin Coffee when it all went up. So that is very good. This is only set from my standpoint, and I am, as you know, a bit of a longer term investor, and I want some solidity and stability in the stocks I'm buying. So I'm not much into buying these lottery tickets. But let's have a look at it. First of all, before we go any further and you get all the details, remember to hit that subscribe button down there if you haven't done that already. Also the like button if you do like what you see here. All right, let's get onto it. First of all, back in January, you can see here, Motley Fool were doing actually a very good comparing analysis between Luckin Coffee and Starbucks, because Luckin Coffee was kind of the new hot thing coming from China, and they were going to be the new Starbucks. That was at least what they were. That was a narrative about it. So they were comparing these on a number of issues. I do recommend you looking at Motley Fool. I have no affiliation with them, but it is a rather good page, I think. And I often, when I do my research, I just have a quick look at Motley Fool to see if they have done any analysis here. So they are analyzing both the core business and they are saying growth, comparing the two, and they can see Luckin Coffee wins on the growth parameters. Profits, Starbucks wins. Domestic versus international, Luckin Coffee wins. And on the delivery model, they were a bit different than Starbucks wins, since the Luckin Coffee delivery model were not really a proven thing yet. So the winner is, by a little margin, Starbucks, but they actually like Luckin Coffee. Now, what happened with Luckin Coffee is that it turned out that a lot of their numbers were complete made up Mickey Mouse books. They were taken out of thin air, and well, that is hard to know when you're doing an analysis. So I'm not holding this against Motley Fool. There were no way anybody could have known this. But then again, often when I see these fraud cases, and I look at the charts and I look at the fundamentals, well, that tells me often long time in advance that I should not have been in this stock. A good example is Enron back in the days when that collapsed, and well, I could name a number of stocks that have completely collapsed, where the charts showed us in advance that something was fishy. So let's have a look at it. First of all, if we are looking at the stock charts, you know, if you have followed me for a while, you know that I look at TradingView here. That is my favorite tool. There's a link to it below if you want to investigate it. They have this fantastic free platform. They also have some paid versions, but most investors can do very well just with the free version. Now, what I'm looking at, and that is just my basic filter when I'm looking at a stock, I want some data to look at. And since Luckin Coffee was introduced on the market here, or at least I have data here from back to, what is that? That is back in May 2019. Then I don't have enough data. So this, if we're looking at the weekly chart and I see something like this, then I'm already out. And that has nothing to do with the business or the business model or their growth or anything. When I'm looking at this short time span here, I do like to have at least 1.5, 2 years of good solid data to look at. And the reason for that is I want to see where all the big players in the market are positioning themselves and what they think a fair price is. And this is simply not enough for me. But let's just assume that there was a bit more data. Then I was getting a very good buy signal right here. That was in November last year, around $27 in price. And the reason why I got this, and you know that if you have followed it, and otherwise I have a lot of videos under the playlist called Learn My Strategy. What we're looking at here is the 14 weeks RSI, and that one is going up above 50. So that is the first sign that we are actually starting to have a stronger upwards movement. And then we have what is called the CRS, the comparative relative strength. I also have a video about that in the other playlist. I need that to be above its own 2 moving averages. Now you might say, well, 2 moving averages, there's only one here. Yes, and that is because we don't have data enough. Because what I want to see is 50 weeks of, we have a 20 EMA and a 50 SMA here on our CRS indicator. And there's simply not data in the model to make a 50 weeks SMA here. So that is another clue that we don't have data enough. But let's just still pretend that this was the buy signal, that this movement would have sent it up above both moving averages. Then we would have gotten in right here around 27. Now, where would we have gotten out then? Or would we have gone out altogether? And that is one of the places where I'm very strict. Had we only looked at the weekly chart, then we would have entered what I call a yellow zone, just around here, maybe this candle, and we would have entered red zone here. So in the yellow zone, this starts to look fishy, and I'm looking at, I'm putting some extra observation on it just to make sure that I'm not getting any sell signals. So I can easily sell a stock even though it is in yellow zone. But when it is in red zone, I need to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So around here, somewhere between 25 and 34 on the weekly chart, my charts told me that it was time to get out and get out fast. So I might, if I had taken it here around 27 and I had gone out in 25, I would have taken maybe 7 or 8% loss in worst case. Of course, if I had ridden this way up here, I would have taken a loss of maybe 50% from the top, which always is very painful. But I would have gotten out without much of a loss to my portfolio. Now, when we're looking at the daily area here, what you can see is that we are getting these. Let's just have a look. When was this? This was in March. Yeah, start and mid-March here this year, 2020. And when we're looking at this, we are starting to see that the RSI on the daily chart is tipping below 50, which we don't like. We saw that here as well, so we might have gotten out here, but we were in a green zone on the weekly chart. So when I see that, I often give it a bit of a slack when we are still in a green zone. But actually, I could have gotten out here around 32 because the stock was going down below its 20 EMA here. The price tipped below the 50 RSI, like this. Tried to get up, but bounced back. And the stock continued down, and that is where I normally say, well, then that is enough for me, or if I'm in a very good profit, I'm taking some of the profits off. We saw it again here. It tipped below the actually both the EMAs here. The RSI went down, tried to get up, but were shot down again. So on the daily chart again, we would have gotten out here around 32, 33. So I'm pretty sure. Now, I was not in Luckin Office, but just Luckin Coffee. Sorry, I'm pretty sure that I would have gotten out. But of course, it's always hard to tell if you don't actually own the stocks, because all sorts of emotions can come up. But I'm usually very tough on following my rules, and those of you that are subscribers in my subscription area know that I am a very strict rules guy. Sometimes maybe a bit too much, but I stick to my rules. And that means that I would probably not have gotten out, I would probably not have been in any longer down than to around 32. So that actually means that I would have ended up with a profit here in Luckin Coffee. Could I, with these charts, have predicted that there were fraud and Mickey Mousing of the books and so on? No, no whatsoever. This is not a predictive tool in that term. This is only a trend tool telling me, is the trend strong, going up, or is the trend dropping down, and we might need to look for some other better stock to put our money in. So another thing is that IPOs, I never touched them. You know that if you've seen my video about IPOs, it's also on the channel. So just in the IPO part, the data part, we don't have data enough. And on the trend part, we can see that we would never have lost money on this. And again, I'm not saying this to rub this in anybody's nose if you have been in the stock, because some people have completely different criteria for entering and exiting a stock. So there might be something in your strategy that tells you you should have bought here, or maybe you should have bought here at 44 and you held it down to the end. That might not be bad. And you might say, well, why is that not bad, losing 90% of your investment? No, because if this is your strategy and you have back tested it and traded it live, and you can see that it works, and that 9 out of 10 times you are making 400%, well then, once in a while, it doesn't matter that you take a 90% haircut. But in my point of view here, I would never have taken it. Let's just have a quick look also at the fundamentals. And here I'm looking at the Stockopedia, also linked below. And you can see right now in the stock rank, as you know, on the quality of the earnings, the momentum, that's also both earnings and news events and so on. And at the overall stock rank, I do like to see a stock that is well above 70. And this is not. This is at a 9. And you might say, yeah, it is now, but what about in the past? Well, then it's good here that we can have a look at the historical charts, and we can see this stock rank here, that is 9 right now. That is the lower line down here that is in red. If that goes up here, it turns green, the line turns green. But as you can see, back from the very first day, we have had a stock rank of 4, 7, at the top, it was up around 25. You can look at the score down here, 28, 35. But 35 is still just half what we need to get up to have a good, solid, stable stock. I am such a big fan of Warren Buffett's old quote saying that he has 2 investment rules. Rule number 1, don't ever lose your money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. And this is one of the reasons why I am sticking to my rules. And that is, of course, it is always funny to be in a trend like this and you're buying at 18 and all of a sudden you have made a 200-300% gain. That is nice. And of course I like that. And once in a while, some of my stocks do that as well. But I simply just want these complete collapses in my portfolio. I really value my sleep, my good night's sleep. And if I have these lottery tickets in my portfolio, no matter who says that this is going to be the winner forever in the future, and nobody in the world will be drinking any coffee unless it is Luckin Coffee, I don't care. Because who says it? Most probably, at least when it is a new company and IPO not so long ago, a lot of the information I'm getting is from new analysts that are just entering into the company trying to analyze it, or it is from the management in the company. And it's not to say that all managers are liars, nothing whatsoever in that direction. But we just need to know that when we get information from a company, it is most of the time biased. And that is not because they're lying, but simply because that when you are a manager of a company, you of course tend to look at all the potential in the company and all the good numbers coming in. And then of course, if you have some stock options in the company, you might also have a little of a economical financial interest in keeping the stocks high. I'm not sure if that is what happened with the fraudulent information from the from this Luckin Coffee case here. But anyway, as we can see right now, the stock has tanked and we would have gotten out fairly quickly. Then again, be aware that I'm never claiming that I'm getting in at the bottom or out at the top. As you can see here, what I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to see some confirmation of a trend. So where someone might have gotten in at 18, I got in at maybe 27. And where the lucky guy would have gotten out at 51, I was getting out at 32. So what I am doing is that I'm never trying to pick exact bottoms and exact tops. What I am doing, however, is that I'm trying to take out the middle of the trend and put into my pocket. And of course, I'm not taking it here. I'm actually more taking it here over time. And of course, sometimes I end out with a loss. That is you can say that when I'm taking a loss, let's say I would have lost 7 or 8 or 10% here at Luckin Coffee, then that is my entry ticket. That is payment for my entry ticket, so that I can also be in on long trends. Not on Luckin Coffee because they didn't have the fundamentals, but in other solid stocks where I might have been taking 5 losers in a row of 7%. And then all of a sudden I get in on one of the good trends that is running up 200%. But if I'm too worried about the 5 to 7 or 10% loss that I'm paying in entry tickets on every trend I see starting out, then I'm closing out too early, or I don't enter anyway, and then I'm not in on the trend that is running hundreds of percentage. So pretty much every year I have 1 or 2 stock that is doing 80, 100, maybe 200%. The problem is that I never know in advance which of the stock it is. So I need to take every buy signal I can find and then weed out the losers in a hurry and keep riding the winners. All right. So the core conclusion here is no, I would never ever have bought Luckin Coffee. And as I hope you can see, it is not just some fancy talk to sound smart, because I have my rules. You can watch my rules. I put a lot of videos up over the last 6 months where I'm explaining these rules. I'll link to some of them below. But from these rules, we can deduct that no, we would never have bought Luckin Coffee. Not in a million years. Not until it might have proven itself and given us some more data and the fundamentals were getting a bit more solid. So if Luckin Coffee would have been a success, I might have gotten in at 60 or 70 or 80 and then tried to ride that trend. And you might say, isn't that stupid? You missed the first 400%. Yeah, well, you can say the same with Amazon when that went up from, I don't know, 50 to 100. And you said, why would you get in 100? You missed the first 100%. Yeah, but then you missed the rest of the ride up to several $1,000s if you were afraid to buy a stock that has already gotten up with 100 or 200%. So that is the basics of it. So we wouldn't have bought Luckin Coffee. I'm sorry for you, those of you that bought it, at least if you bought it here at the top and now you're sitting at a big loss. And especially if this wasn't a part of a larger plan where you're saying, yeah, I can take a loser like this once in a while because I have plenty of good multiple percentage winners. So if you just got in on the hype and you read about it on different social medias, you got in at 50 and now you're sitting with a stock at 4, then I really feel sorry for you. And I urge you to build some sort of ironclad method. It doesn't have to be mine. You are welcome to get inspiration from mine. You're welcome to ask me any question. There are no hidden secrets here. I'm not trying to sell you anything about this strategy. So I'm telling you everything I'm doing. There's no hidden secrets. So ask me anything so that we can make sure that we are not putting our hard-earned money into losers like Luckin Coffee in the future. That's all for now. If you forgot it in the beginning, remember to hit the subscribe and the like button and all the buttons down there. I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon. And remember to take care of yourself and your money out there. Bye for now. I'll talk to you again soon.